Good morning, student. Today is a very happy day for us because you are going to learn something more. You have already learned poetry, grammar maybe, and now we are going to start with prose. And it's a very interesting topic that too. How many persons are there in our house? Maybe your father, your mother, your sister, brother, grandparents. Grandparents means your grandfather, grandmother. And this particular topic that we are going to read, the title is The Portrait of a Lady by XII Singh. XII Singh, as you know, you might have heard that he was a very famous writer. He used to write on all kinds of topics. And in this particular topic, he has written about his grandmother. The portrait of a lady is the portrait, that means the picture, that he has drawn a picture about his grandmother. Drawing a picture is not the sketching a picture, but he has talked about it, written about it in such a way that you will get a very clear and distinct idea about the mother. When we talk about a person, generally we start by talking about her or his physical features and his dresses, his or her dresses. And XII Singh, a wonderful teacher, wonderful writer, he writes about his grandmother, so no doubt he is going to give you a very vivid picture of his grandmother, which is almost like a photograph. You find there is a photograph in front of your eyes. My grandmother, like everybody's grandmother, was an old woman. She had been old and wrinkled for the 20 years that I had known her. So he was 20 when the grandmother died. But before that, he knew the grandmother since his childhood. And in his childhood, he found that his grandmother was wrinkled. What is wrinkle? Like this cloth that you see over here, this is straight. So this is wrinkled. So the cloth was wrinkled, just like the cloth was wrinkled. The face of the lady, entire skin of the lady was wrinkled. And people said that she had been young and pretty and had even had a husband. But that was hard to believe, that this is a lady and my grandmother. How can my grandmother have someone else, a husband? No, this is very disgusting. No husband for her. And second thing is that once she was young and pretty, how can this woman be young and pretty? She has always been, as if she has always been born as an old woman with wrinkled skin and stooping body and an old woman in total. My grandfather portrait hung above the mantelpiece. So the grandfather has already become a picture. So once you have a picture with a garland, you know that the man is dead. So the grandfather is dead, the grandmother is alive and lives with the grandson. And he heard, then you have a description of the grandfather. He wore a big turban. He had a turban on his head, not a cap, mind you, not a cap, but not a hat, but a turban, and loose cloth. His long white beard covered the best part of his chest. He had a long beard, maybe till this particular portion. So over here a turban and then a long dress, loose dress. So that was the picture. His long white beard covered the best part of his chest, and he looked at least 100 years old. When you were a child, you cannot know the age. Even if a person, you were 10 years old, you were 15 years old, and somebody is 30, and you feel that he's very old. So naturally, the grandfather looked like a very old man to the grandson. He looked as if he could only have lots and lots of grandchildren. A wife and daughters? No, not possible. He is so old that he can have only grandchildren. No children, no wife. As for my grandmother being young and pretty, the thought was almost revolting. What is revolting? Is something that gives you uneasiness in your stomach, as if you are going to vomit. So, no, you cannot have a grandmother who is a wife, who is young, who is beautiful. No. She is like this always. She often told us of the games she used to play, games she used to play as a child. That seemed quite absurd and undignified. My grandmother, and she is going to play some games like Pucci or Kawadi or something like that. No, not possible. My grandmother cannot be young and playing games or all that, not possible. And it is so undignified. But this is not good thing. And we treated it like the fable of the prophets. She used to tell us. So all the grandmothers, they generally tell you stories. Stories about Shivaji, Mahatma Gandhi, and maybe about Rama, Krishna, and other people. And she used to tell that story, and Kushman Singh used to feel as a child that the grandfather was one of these people, the person belonging to the time of Rama or Krishna or something like that. She had always been short and fat and slightly bent. So now we get the next information about the physical appearance of the woman. She is wrinkled, she is old, she is fat, and she is bent. So you must have seen so many old persons and their backbone is bent and they walk with a stoop. They bend towards the front. They might be holding a stick, a body or something like that, or they might be walking bent. Her face was a crisscross of wrinkles running from everywhere to everywhere. Everywhere the face was totally wrinkled. It was totally wrinkled like I showed you the cloth. Her face, we were certain she had always been as we had known her. Old, so terribly old that she could not have grown older and had stayed at the same age for 20 years. She has become 100 years or 300 years or 500 years when she was young even. And that is why she cannot grow older. That is what all the children were thinking about the grandmother. She hobbled about the house in spotless white with one hand resting on her waist to balance her stoop and the other tailing the bits of her rosary. So now the appearance, the description of the physical feature is complete. Wrinkled face, fat body, white sari, clean white sari. She was bent and she will be walking with her hand on her back so that she doesn't fall down or she doesn't feel imbalanced, and she will be telling the rosary with her next other hand. Rosary, गोटे माला धरिकरी लोक माने पढ़ती ना राम 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 करती 108 थर. To know that they keep a bead, and that bead is called a rosary. Her silver locks were scattered untidily over her face. Lock is hair, lock of hair. Another name for hair is lock, and it was so untidy. It was all over her face. Puckered face, her lips constantly moving in inaudible prayer. She would always be praying with the rosary. Yes, she was beautiful. She was like the winter landscape in the mountains, an expanse of pure white serenity, breathing peace and contentment. Oh, she was not pretty, but she was beautiful nonetheless. She was so beautiful that you find that she is serene. Serene is calm and quiet feeling. Whenever you see your grandmother, you get that feeling of quietness. There is somebody around you who is not going to torture you or who is not going to frighten you. She was a pretty woman. What the writer thinks about his grandmother, you can know from the introduction. The topic is divided into many portions, and in the first portion we get a physical description of the grandmother, and the grandmother is described through her physical appearance initially. Then you find a very good writer, what the writer does, that they do not go about talking about something in a straight line, because that becomes very boring. Then if you can go straight, then bend slightly, then go like this, then it will be slightly more interesting. And the writer, Khuswant Singh was a great writer. He is able to do that. So now there is a turn and a twist in the story now, in the narration of the story now. My grandmother and I were good friends. So first, he feels that she is pretty. Second, he thinks that they were good friends. Okay, so the first is pretty. Second is that friends. They were good friends. So remember this characteristics, descriptions. My grandmother and I were good friends. My parents left me with her when they went to live in the city, and we were constantly together. So that is why he is so close to the grandmother. Because the parents are away earning their living, and the son and the mother of the father, the grandmother and the son, both of them were in the village, and because they were always together, they become good friends. She used to wake me up in the morning and get me ready for school. She said her morning prayer in a monotonous sing-song while she bathed and dressed me in the hope that I would listen and get to know it by heart. To know something by heart. So what is by heart? By heart, to learn something that it is in your mind. माने आमे ओडिया रे कहिथिले मो मन रे रही गला बोली कि कहि थाते, but in English it is to remember something by heart. Okay, so now the grandmother will wake up the grandson, and then he will get him ready, bathing him, dressing him, feeding him, so that he'll be ready to go to the school. But she never stops counting her beads. She will be counting her beads. What the writer says? That she counts the bead. Did he say count the bead? No. Tell. To tell the beads. You tell a story. Yes? But do you tell your rosary? Yes. There are many use to the term tell. Tell can be used in various in different aspect of a sentence. So in this particular sense, telling the bits means counting the bits. Telling over here is counting. So counting of the bits. She will be counting the bits, doing her prayer, that is, and continue with her prayer and getting the son ready, grandson ready for the school. Then she would fetch my wooden slate, which she had already washed and plastered with yellow chalk, a tiny earthen ink pot and a reed pen, tie them all in a bundle and hand to me. So there is the slate. So there was a slate over here. You can see that here is a slate and here is an ink pot. Okay? And inside the ink pot there should be a pen. But this pen was not made of wood or something that we have already seen. It is not the usual pen that you see now. It was a pen made of reed. Reed means something kind of grass. It is a kind of a grass. So grass, pen, ink pot, slate, and then on top of the slate there will be a yellow mark. Okay, because yellow stands for purity. So yellow mark, and both of them will go together. Why? After breakfast of a thick stale chapati with a little butter and a sugar spread on it, we went to school. That was also my favorite food when I was young. Chapati, and on top of that there will be butter. My mother will do the butter, take out the butter, fresh butter, and it is spread on the bread. Bread means roti. On top of the roti, butter upre chini, tapor taku roll kar dabo, taku khai. It's very tasty. It is very tasty. And the writer also liked it, so he would eat it, and then we went to school. Both of them went to school together. Why they went to school together? Do you think that the grandmother wanted to read? No, it's not that. Something else the writer is going to give you the next information. She carried several stale chapatis with her for the village dogs. Not only that, माने खाली जे grandson ता पुराना बासी रोटी खाइबा नुहे. Stale माने बासी रोटी. Stale roti खाइबा नुहे. से कहते पुराना राति रो रही जाए तो रोटी also she will carry with her and take it and take the grandson with her to the school, and on the way she will break the chapati into small bits and throw it at the dogs. Okay, we generally believe that it is some kind of a dharma kama to give it to the birds and dogs and like that. My grandmother always went to school with me. Okay, because the school was attached to the temple. So here is the clue. So the temple and the school were attached. Attached means they were side by side? No, they were the same place. They were attached to each other, joined to each other, means they are the same place. The priest taught us the alphabet. What is alphabet? A, B, C, D, Nole, O, A, Horsai, Dirghoi. Alphabet and the morning prayer. So they learned the alphabet and also the morning prayer. While the children sat in rows on either side of the veranda, singing the alphabet or the prayer in a chorus, my grandmother sat inside reading the scriptures. Scripture hochi holy books. Mane kochi Ramayana Mahabharata podutube ki kitab kon podutube. She will be reading the book, and the teacher, who is the pandit of the school, he will be teaching the students Oa Horsai Dirghoi and also at the same time prayers. Okay, so the village temple was converted into a school and temple together. The time the village dogs, sorry, I left one line. When we had both finished, we would walk back together. This time the village dogs would meet us at the temple door. They followed us to our home, growling and fighting with each other for the chapatis we threw at them. So while coming back, both of them will be throwing chapati at the dogs. And then they will, the dogs will growl. What is growling? Pow! They'll be growling and they will go at them. Stop. So now the grandmother and the grandson are back at home. So now there is another turn. There is another turn to the story. You can see this. See this, and it is more interesting. When my parents were comfortably settled in the city, they sent for us. So the father and the mother, they become comfortable economically and business-wise or service-wise, and they sent for the grandmother and the grandson. That was a turning point in our relationship. What is turning point? Turning point? A point at which the life or a river, for that matter, can take a turn. It was coming like this, or it was going like this, and now it will go like this. In another direction it will go. Although we shared the same room, my grandmother no longer came to school with me. So this grandmother and the grandson, they lived in the same room. But she did not come. The grandmother did not come to the school because the school was not held inside a temple. I used to go to an English school. They were in the Gaan Chatsali or something like that in the mandir, and now he is going to an English school. In a motor bus, that too. There were no dogs in the streets, and she took to feeding sparrows in the courtyard of our city house. So what is a courtyard? Courtyard mane ogana kima ghoror charipoto bele bele ghor is constructed like this and moji portion is left, and we call it courtyard, ogana. Or it might be somewhere in and around the house. So courtyard of the house, rather she will feed. Instead of giving the basi roti to the ducks, she will now give it to the sparrows. As the years rolled by, so the years rolled by. What is rolled by? What is rolled by? माने गड़ी गड़ी करी चली गला तो माने समय गड़ी गला, समय गड़ीबा सांगे सांगे
So with the passing of time, rolling of time, we saw less of each other, because the writer would go to the school, English school, and the grandmother will have other works. They were no longer always together as it was for him in the village. For some time she continued to wake me up and get me ready for school. For 1 year or 2 years, she still woke up the grandson and used to get him ready to go to the school. When I came back, she would ask me what the teacher had taught me, as was the practice in the school. But in the school, village school, both of them were together. So over here she will ask, what your teacher taught you today? What was that? She will ask. I will tell her English words and little things of Western science and learning, the law of gravity, Archimedes' principle, the world being round, etc. This made her unhappy. So now he is learning an English medium school, he is learning science and about different science and English, and all these things were something new to the grandmother, and the grandmother was very unhappy because all these things she did not like. See, rather, I think that she must have thought he should go on, Kusman Singh should go on reading religious scriptures, religious books. She could not help me with my lesson. To help one with something, to help one with something. That means somebody is giving you some sort of help to do a thing. Like in the beginning, our mothers used to hold our hand and used to make us write A, like that. So now she is no longer able to help the grandson because the grandson is reading English and Archimedes' principle and the fact that the world is round and all these things. No. This is not good subject, so she did not like it. She did not believe in the things that taught at the English school and was distressed that there was no teaching about God and the scriptures. What is distressed? What is distressed? Distress is she felt very unhappy. She felt very unhappy, and because it was not taught. Religion was not taught at school. Scriptures were not taught at school, and that is why she was unhappy. One day I announced that we were being given music lessons. Then another turning point. Now they had SUPW class, and he was being given music lessons. You see, she was very disturbed. She was extremely excited and she was very, very disturbed. To her, music had lewd association. L-E-W-D. L-E-W-D. What is lewd? Something vulgar, something very bad. Okay, only bad people learn to sing. Singing is bad. But what is singing the song of religion? You are also singing the song of religion. That is also kind of singing. But to the grandmother, anything except for religious songs are bad. It is characterless. It is bad. And that is why she was unhappy. It was the monopoly of harlot and beggars. Only beggars can sing, or harlot. Harlot is bad omen. Okay, so bad omen or beggars, only they will sing, not all other people. And not meant for gentle folk. Good persons, they don't sing. She said nothing, but her silence meant disapproval. She did not comment. But sometimes even if people don't speak, we can understand their feeling. And the writer could see that the grandmother is unhappy. She rarely talked to me after that, because he started learning to sing. It was the end of their relationship, and she did not talk to him any longer because he has become a bad person by learning to sing song. When I went up to university, I was given a room of my own. So now another turning point. He went to English, he was in the village, went to English school, now he is going to the university. I was given a room of my own. What is room of my own? Why I don't know about my own, he's stressing. Because the grandmother and the grandson, they have been sharing a room till now. And now he's going to have a room of his own and he's very happy about it. Was he happy? Let us find out. The common link of friendship was snapped. That till now, at least they were sleeping in the same room, and now they were sharing two different rooms, and the bondage between the grandmother and the grandson snapped. What is snap? Bhangi gala boli kahanti. Gote body dhariki taku bhangi daba. That is snapping the body. Like that, the relationship broke. Okay. So another word we learn over here is snap. So snap. Snap is to break. So there was a breakage in the relationship. The common link of friendship was snapped. My grandmother accepted her seclusion with resignation. So now we are going to learn two more words. One is seclusion. What is seclusion? Secluded. Have you heard the word secluded? Okay, seclusion is ekutia hekri rohibata. Is seclusion. She was secluded. Ekutia taku koridia golla. Not that situation made it like that. That she was made lonely, alone, or solitary. And she was resignation. What is resignation? Have you heard the words resignation before? You must have. You must have heard that the doctor resigned from his service. The minister resigned because she was unwell or something like that. So, but resignation is not to resign, but to accept something without complaint. Resignation is over here in this particular context to accept your fate without grumbling, without complaining. From sunrise to sunset, she sat by her wheel, spinning and reciting prayers. So she was also spinning. Spinning is to make thread out of cotton, tula. Cotton to tula bahar kara ja. So she was spinning and also she was reciting her prayer with the beads. Only in the afternoon she relaxed for a while to feed the sparrows. Now there were no longer dogs, sparrows. She is feeding the sparrows in the evening. So now there is another development you find here. She sat in the veranda, breaking the bread into little bits. Hundreds of the little birds collected round her, creating a veritable bedlam. What is bedlam? What is bedlam? Bedlam is, you can say, it is a kind of a disturbing place, kind of a hell. But over here the word is not used as hell, but it is a kind of a disturbing place. So there was a veritable, almost like a very disturbing place. Gote strike houchi, gondogol houchi, kongrode houchi, gondogoliya place gote ta taripote create houthala. Okay, so now the grandmother will be sitting and feeding the sparrows, and the sparrows will be creating a lot of sounds and noises, and then some came and perched on her leg. To perch, okay, P-E-R-C-H, perch. Perch mane basi jiba, aram re basi jiba. So they will perch on her legs, on her hand, on her shoulder, on her head. She will be sitting very calmly and throwing the bits of bread, the roti at them, and they will be sitting, creating a lot of noise, but she was not disturbed by the birds. So now we are going to remove this. Have you written this down? Okay, we are going to remove it because there is no more space in the board. She smiled but never shooed them away. What is to shoo? S-H-O-O, shoo? Shoo means that kind of a sound. Like that we do to the ducks if they come very near to us. So she never shooed them away, the birds away. It used to be the happiest half hour of the day for her. So now it was a very happy time for the grandmother. Throughout the day, she was lonely, not lonely, but she was alone because her favorite grandson is away and she has got only the company of somebody, that is the birds. Not that the son and the daughter-in-law, they did not give her company, but she did not want. She wanted only to tell her beads. Okay, so now there is another turn that comes to the story now. When I decided to go abroad for further studies. What is to go abroad? Mean foreign country. So to continue with his study, he wanted to go to a foreign country. I was sure my grandmother would be upset. What is to be upset? To feel sad, bad. I would be away for 5 years, and at her age, one could never tell. One could never tell. What is one could never tell? Kon habo kali ame aji koi pariba nahi. Okay, that is one could never tell because she is so old now. But my grandmother could. Kali kon habo ma grandmother koi parutula. Kahi ki? Na. She was not even sentimental. What is sentimental? So what is sentimental? To have emotion or show your emotion. Okay, Kandiba or something. She was not sentimental. She came to leave me at the railway station. To leave me. To see him off. Another word for leave me is to see him off at the railway station. But did not talk or show any emotion. She did not talk to the grandson. She did not show any emotion. Kandiba, manduka kariba. Nothing was there in her face, on her face. Her lips moved in a prayer. Her mind was lost in prayer. She was there at the railway station, but she went on counting her beads. Her fingers were busy telling the beads of a rosary. Silently kissed my forehead, and when I left, I cherished the moist imprint as perhaps the last sign of physical contact between us. Chua dinru se taku dhari, taku khelei, taku bodej. So now at last she gives a kiss on the forehead. So it was the moist Odalia feeling of that kiss he carried with him to the foreign country. He felt that probably I would not come back to see her. When she will not be alive when I come back, rather. But that was not so. After 5 years, I came back home and was met by her at the station. Station taku chhadi dela, first station re se asila to receive the grandson. She still had no time for words, and while she clasped me in her arms, I could hear her reciting her prayer. When he alighted, he got down from the train. She came forward, clasped him, in his arms. But still then, instead of saying anything, she went on telling her prayer. Even on the first day of my arrival, her happiest moments were with her sparrows, whom she had longed with frivolous, she fed longer and with frivolous rebuke. So now she was still very fond of the sparrows and with frivolous rebuke. Rebuke mane टिके गाली दबा अल्प गाली दबा सो से गाली ताको दउथले एंड फ्रिवोलस नॉट सीरियस गाली आस्ते आस्ते गाली दउथले paras are no longer of course they are not human beings so se kudra ai ja dusto kai gasi khaunu or something like that maybe. In the evening a change came over her. So the grandson had gone to the foreign country, studied there for 5 years, came back. The grandmother, even if she is not showing her happiness because she is busy counting her beads, she is very happy with the return. But in the evening, there was a change in the atmosphere, at least of the grandmother. She did not pray. That day, she did not pray any longer. She collected the women of the neighborhood, got an old drum and started to sing. So now she is not telling her beads, rather she collected a few number of women around her house and she started beating the drums. And the drum was an old drum. For several hours she trumped the sagging skin of the dilapidated drum. So let us think about the word dilapidated. Dilapidated माने almost भंगारुजा हो जाइतिबा, बहुत पुराना हेगरी टिके weak हो जाइतिबा और भंगारुजा हो जाइतिबा. And thump तामाने डुम की बाड़ी लगिबा. Okay, so that is thump. Sagging skin माने से जो, because the drum had already become old, so naturally it was the skin of the drum was also old, like the skin of the grandmother. It was also sagging, but she went on beating the drum, and the ladies around her, they started singing and sang of the homecoming of warriors. What is the song about? The song is not about God. The song is not about anything else but return of the warrior, not return of the grandson who has gone to study, but of the warriors coming back home victorious. And she sang about such songs. We had to persuade her to stop to avoid overstraining. Strain kariba mane bahut tired hai jiba. To stop her from getting tired, we tried to stop her. That was the first time since I had known her that she did not pray. Even after she had played the drum for a lot of time, she did not pray to God that night. That evening she did not pray to God. The next morning she was taken ill. So this is generally what happens. This shows the coming of an event as if superstition is there. She did not pray to God, and next day she is taken ill. It was a mild fever, and the doctor told us that it would go. Okay, so it was only a fever. She went to the hospital. The doctor said that no, it is not a very big fever. It will go away. But my grandfather thought differently. The doctor said that it is not a big fever, but the grandmother thought of something else. She told us that her end was near. She said that, no, I am going to die now. End was near mane तमरो डेथ पाखकु आसीगलानी, जनकर डेथ पाखकु आसीगलानी. She said that since only a few hours before the close of the last chapter of her life, she had omitted to pray. She was not going to waste any more time talking to us. So now she talked to them and she told that I'm going to die after some time. But because she has been talking to us, she has lost so much of time. Now she is going to give the rest of the time to God. The few 1-2 hours that was left, she will give to God. She went on chanting. She did not tell anything to the grandson, not to the son, not to the daughter-in-law. She did not have any grouse, any complaint, anything to tell anyone. We lifted her. We protested. We said, no, talk to us. But she ignored our protest. She lay peacefully in bed, praying and telling her beads. Even before we could suspect, her lips stopped moving and the rosary fell from her lifeless finger. A peaceful pallor spread on her face, and we knew that she was dead. And before, they said that, no, talk to us. But she went on singing to the God. And after a few minutes, then the rosary, the beads, string, it fell from her hands, and there was a pallor, a color of peace. Peace ro gote color thai? Maybe not, but the writer is trying to be very artistic while talking about the appearance of the grandmother. The grandmother had a very happy kind of an appearance to her face, and then she died. We lifted her off the bed and, as is customary, laid her on the ground and covered her with a red shroud. So now, this is a custom. When somebody, I do not know exactly, but when somebody dies, then you lift him or her from the bed and put them on the ground. And on top of the dead body, they covered the dead body with a red chadar, shroud, a chadar. After a few hours of mourning, we left her alone to make arrangements for her funeral. Funeral means last rites of death, rites. They left everybody left, and they left their mourning is to cry, because your heart is broken because somebody is dead. So mourning, they stopped mourning and they started working, preparing for the dead person. In the evening, we went to her room with a crude stretcher to take her to be cremated. So sarla pore gote stretcher taku baneguri, she has to be carried to the crematorial ground or some place, and the stretcher is prepared, and they went to her room. But it was a very strange sight. Now wait. Now see what is going to come. The sun was setting and had lit her room and veranda with a blaze of golden light, because the sun was coming from the west and it was falling to her room, and the room was looking almost golden with the light of the setting sun. All over the veranda and her room, right up to where she lay dead and stiff, wrapped in the red shroud, thousands of sparrows sat scattered on the floor. It is the most unusual thing, most interesting thing that I have ever heard, that right from the door to her bed, near her bed, around her place where she was lying dead, you find sparrows, thousands. Thousand mane gote thousand nue, 2000,000, 3000,000, besi gude thousand sparrow mane chariade basithile. There was no chirping, but today they were not making any sound. Chirping is the sound of the birds. Okay, we felt sorry for the birds, and my mother fetched some bread for them. So they thought that probably they are sitting there waiting for her to get up and to give them bread. So the mother of the writer, she went and fetched. Fetch, what is the meaning of the word fetch? To go somewhere and to bring back something. If I tell you, fetch me this pen, it will be wrong, because it is over here. I pick it up. Give me the pen. You pick it up and give it to me, to my hand. Give me the pen. Fetch me that book. You go there, pick up the book, come to me and give it to me. That is fetching. Okay, that is the difference between give and fetch. Fetch, to go somewhere and to get it. So the mother went to the kitchen to get the bread. She broke it into little crumbs, the way my grandmother used to, and threw it to them. Then she broke the roti into different pieces and threw it to them. The sparrows took no notice of the bread. When we carried my grandmother's cups off, they flew away quietly. Next morning, the sweeper swept the bread crumbs into the dustbin. Till they went away. When the dead body was taken away for the last rite, then the sparrows also went away. They did not touch the bread. Only the sweeper came and took away the bread crumbs that was lying there for the sparrow. So it's a very heart-touching and a very interesting story where you find the heartfelt feeling of the writer for the grandmother. From the beginning of the story, when you hear about the wrinkled face of the grandmother to the deathbed of the grandmother, right from the grandson to the little sparrows, everybody loved her, everybody followed her, and she had very few words for anyone. She did not talk much, but she was loved by everybody, particularly by the writer, her grandson. And you find that the writing is also very interesting. And very interesting, you cannot put down the book. You cannot put down the story. It is a very interesting story, and it has taken a very good turn. It is not a straight line. The description is not a straight line. It takes many turns and twists. The story takes many turns and twists and makes it interesting. And the turn and twists are also woven into the fate of the writing and the writer and the grandmother. So, and throughout this particular description, you find one very interesting word the writer focuses on again and again: tell. Tell is a word that is a very simple word. I told you a story. My teacher told me to get a book, to come with the book. yesterday, oh sorry, tomorrow. Oh, but the meaning of the word tell is over here is not the same tell. It means telling of the story means singing of the God's name. Counting and telling the God's name. Okay, and it is done through the rosary. Rosary is the bead, the string of the bead. तामने माली गोटे को धरी के से जोड़ा पड़ुतवे. So telling. So the second meaning is telling is to tell the beads. Another word the writer says has given about the meaning of the word tell is, at his age no one could ever tell. Mane I cannot prophesize. Tell, the meaning of the word tell over here is to prophesize. Prophesize mane future bisare kichi gote jinso कहबाटाकू prophesize boli kuha jaye. So you cannot prophesize anything. Tell, the meaning of the word, third meaning of the word tell is to tell the future, is to prophesize. She told us that her end was near. Over here the word told is telling. Jo bhabare ame buju, the word meaning of the word tell is over here. She said that you cannot tell. You cannot tell. She said that no, I am going to die very soon. The doctor is wrong. So the meaning of the word tell is given over here. So I believe that we have covered a very interesting chapter, and if you have got any complaint, any queries, any problems, you can write to me. You can take my address from here. You can note down my phone number. Okay, 94373 lekilo 94373 94488. My name is Ranjita Pati, Pati, Ranjita, Ranjita Pati, Pati, Ranjita Pati. You can ring me up and ask me if you have got some questions regarding this particular topic. But I hope that all of you are going to do very well in your examination, and thank you all. Okay, bye.